Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. It's quite a big room today. All right, so today's workshop is going to be youth using GIS. Before I begin, I just want to ask you all a question. How many of you did GIS after college as a career? Just raise your hand. All right. How many of you went to college for GIS? Just raise your hand. How many of you did GIS in high school? Except our team, not many people. And that's the difference we're trying to make in our communities here in North Carolina. And that's a little about our team. My name is Rishabh Nuka. I'm one of the associate directors here at the National 4A Geospatial Leadership Team. Oh, I guess it's a little messed up, but that's me on the left side there. I'm gonna hand it off to Brandon, who's gonna introduce himself.
Hi, so my name is Brandon Estevez. I'm the director for the national team, and so I'm a junior over in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll go ahead and introduce Srajan, who's sitting down here. He is one of the other associate directors for our team. He's a junior in Charlotte as well. And then finally, we have Tanush Chamarilla over in, as well as senior in Charlotte, North Carolina as well. And then finally, nice mention to Dr. Thomas Ray sitting up here in the front. He's got a red polo on in case you can't miss him. And he serves as our advisor, but also the executive director for our team. Oh, oops. Go ahead.
A little about our team is that we're a nationwide youth-led initiative that uses geospatial technologies to make a real-world impact. Essentially, we train young leaders to use ArcGIS and other GIS platforms like Experience Builder and many other things that GIS offers, along with Esri. And then we also partner with educators, government agencies, and communities across the United States to build lasting projects that make a difference. Additionally, we encourage youth-driven research and public service projects in topics of interest that they are interested in pursuing. All right, Brandon will talk about who we work with.
Yeah, so the team is based at the NC State University's Center for Geospatial Analytics. In cooperation with NC State University, NC Cooperative Extension, they provide most of our support in terms of funding, materials, advisors, and really a lot of faculty connections that we're able to use in order to have advisors, mentors, and other people that kind of come in and speak and help our youth out. Additionally, we have the University of Charlotte, who we've connected with recently with research, data, and a lot of much more mentors. Esri is one of our partners. They provide all of the software, licensing, and they have also provided us the opportunity to go to their user conference in the summer in San Diego every year. Additionally, the USDA, and we cannot go without mentioning Wake County, where the team is based.
All right, a little bit more into what we do. We do workshops just like this all across the state, whether in schools, classrooms, or even just a local community center. We conduct these, essentially encouraging GIS clubs, organizations, and other projects to be started for high school students like us. And additionally, we lead community service projects that make a real-world impact by using GIS on projects that people like. And for example, I'm really passionate about economics, and I'm doing my research project on gerrymandering. And here in North Carolina, we're known for that, something that's not good to be known for. And so that's what I really wanted to tackle by looking at income inequality and political polarization over the last decade. By doing things like this, youth are equipped with skills that are really vital for their future careers, whether it's in data collection, mapping, or analysis, or even public speaking like I am standing up here today. We gain many skills that will help us in our future careers. And by doing this, we essentially promote geospatial thinking across different fields. That means whether it's critical thinking or it allows us to think and look at the world in a different way, in an abstract manner.
So I'll go ahead and talk a bit about more what the youth experience is for members on our team. So the opportunity for them to work on issues they care about. As Rishabh mentioned, he's passionate about economics and racial disparities with regards to elections. So he's doing a project on gerrymandering. I've done projects on historical projects that I was interested, or historical neighborhoods I was interested in. Srajan down in the audience is working on a project relating to banking in Charlotte and seeing different avenues. So we really try to give students the opportunity to, for whatever issue or field that they're kind of interested in pursuing, seeing the connection to the real world and real places so they can learn more about that. We want them to be able to apply those skills. So for example, data collection, outreach, public or community engagement, all of those different skills that they'll need in the workplace, and helping them grow that now. And finally, we give our youth the opportunity to travel across the state and the United States to go ahead and network, present, and learn from their peers, but also to learn from you guys, industry professionals, educators, and other adults that are in the industry right now. So that is kind of what the youth experience is for our team. I'll talk a little bit more about the research. So I guess it did not load. Here, we'll go ahead. So North Carolina's impact for 2025 so far this year, we've gone ahead and presented we've attended 4 concerts, we've had over 7 presentations, not including conferences, more so as in going into classrooms and teaching or showing our GIS and geography skills to, for example, elementary schools, middle schools, and all those other different things. I'll let Rishab go ahead and continue a bit more about this.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So with our impact that Brandon talked about, how we impacted 300 educators and K-12 students, and this is all within just 3 months of 2025, and we can't wait to see what we do the rest of the year. But I just want to talk a little bit about our project called Nourish. Nourish currently we're doing mainly here in California, as well as North Carolina and Arizona, where we plan to map the food supply chain to identify groceries, farmers market, and other areas where healthy foods and those are sold. And essentially, once we find these data sets, we'll be providing it to our partner universities, North Carolina State University, University of California, San Diego, and the University of Kansas, who will then disseminate this information towards an app that can be used as a tool for local governments and local entrepreneurs. Then this is also, after we conduct all this and create that app, we plan to work with both of the largest public school systems here in the state, whether it's Charlotte-Mecklenburg High Schools in Charlotte or Wake County public school system, where we plan to implement geospatial tools and thinking into the curriculum, whether it is leading workshops within the school or encouraging teachers to start programs where they're able to lead workshops just like this, or even simpler for elementary school, middle school, and high school students. Yeah, and Brandon will add a little bit more onto that.
So as Rishab mentioned, basically giving teachers kind of the ability to easily implement GIS or really just geography into their curriculums. So for example, environmental science is a field that really ties into this, thinking about climate, weather patterns, all of those different things that have a geographic connection. So we've gone ahead and started helping Wake County Public Schools with developing different type of story map templates, different instruction guides, and all these other kind of different curriculum tools that they can use now in their classes. And I'll go ahead and head back to Rishab for GIS and education.
All right, thank you. So I guess we did talk a little bit about GIS and education, whether it is leading workshops like this or implementing it into the curriculum. But I just want to expand a little bit more on what it would entail. Essentially, it allows students to use GIS, for interactive lessons and storytelling, whether it's using ArcGIS to map it out and then using story maps to display their knowledge and thinking, which allows them to publish this in other areas, whether it's their school newsletter or even like a university's newsletter in one of our partner universities. And we also want to introduce GIS into clubs, competitions, and research projects. I know that a couple of years ago, Dr. Ray led a GIS competition here in North Carolina. And we also have a GIS club in Charlotte and all across North Carolina. And that's something we want to implement all over the US. And we have begun doing that, so we're getting there. And essentially by implementing these organizations, clubs, and community centers with GIS, we're providing access to GIS software and training resources, which we have partnered with Esri to provide for all these clubs for free. And using this ArcGIS, they're able to conduct essentially field research, surveys, and mappings, again, on projects like they like to do. For example, mine, I talked a little bit about how I'm using data sets from the US Census Bureau, and I'm also going to be looking at income groups using the Federal Reserve's data sets. So those are things that I wouldn't have known without GIS how to use, and that's something that this teaches others. And that's something that I really hope to see implemented all across. And additionally, once they learn this, they're also able to learn the basic data entry and improvement of data sets. And all these are really impactful because this allows all these high school students to experience potentially entering a local government's public GIS department or anything that can truly impact the public and allow them to be used for, again, just research or other projects. I'll hand off to Brandon.
So here's where I'll talk a little bit more about how people here could get involved. So identifying what avenues you want to use to get involved with youth in your state or really your community. So for example, we have as part of our youth team, we actually do career nights at our weekly check-ins. Weekly check-ins where we have people from different industries come in and speak about, what career they're in, how did they get there, what type of credentials they need, all of those kind of different things so students that may not know what they want to do yet can kind of get exposed to that. We also have adult advisors for clubs, for example, in different counties. So for example, I'll just use Rowan County. They had a lot of different students that were interested in starting a 4-H GIS club there. It just took them a little longer to kind of find an adult advisor that was a GIS professional that was willing to kind of volunteer their time and their expertise to kind of go ahead and show them how do you use ArcGIS Online? How do you build a story map? How do you do analysis on data? All of those different connections and knowledge that you all have that could help grow the next generation of leaders in the state. And I'll go ahead and let Rishabh talk a little bit more about the last two.
All right, thank you. Well, before we go into the youth Q&A, I just want to talk a little bit about what we do with internships and job shadowing. Essentially, we have an internship program within our national team, which allows other high school students that are new to the program to essentially learn from us and experience what to do. We have numerous interns from California, Arizona, and even Kansas, where they're learning from us who have been in the team for a little bit longer, and they also gain skills like how to build a resume, how to maintain LinkedIn, in addition to skills like GIS. Also, we offer job shadowing with our massive network of GIS professionals, economists, researchers, professors, and various other fields. We're able to connect them with a vast network of people, which essentially allows them to shadow the job that they potentially want in the future. And that has inspired many people. Like one of our older students was able to find a university that he wanted to go to, and he even found an internship at Esri through our program. So that's the true impact of this program. All right, okay. And I invite the youth to come up here and just talk a little bit. While they're coming up, we'll be asking them some questions. You guys are more than welcome to ask some questions as well. But while they're coming up, I just want to say that this youth team is not possible without sponsors, partners, and other members like we talked about. So if you're interested in getting involved, there's a Google form at the very end, or even feel free to come up to us, or even Dr. Ray. He's in a bright red shirt up here, so you won't miss him. But yeah. All right, let's ask some of our youth some questions. Do you guys have any questions for our youth? No? Sure.
Have you thought about collaborating with similar organizations such as youth mappers that do some parallel kinds of work?
So you said youth mappers, I'm guessing just how it's spelled?
Yeah, that's the exact organization. They are a organization that's associated with OpenStreetMap US.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, the same kind of work that you're doing here, but with open source tools and make contributions to OpenStreetMap so they can still give those skills.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent resource. I'll go ahead and plainly admit that we weren't aware of them, was why I think they all pushed me over here. But that's an excellent, we'll definitely see if we can connect with them. I've used OpenStreetMap before, and actually as part of this conference, a lot of people have recommended to me to start using more open source tools like QGIS and GrassGIS, so I would definitely like to get connected with them and learn what they have to offer. The question was if we had gotten involved with this organization called Youth Mappers. Any other questions?
Who's doing community outreach for the counties that don't have a team yet? And how are you doing community outreach?
So the question she asked was how we're basically doing outreach with other counties across the state that don't have a GIS clubs there yet. So that mainly falls on me and Rishabh do a lot of the outreach within the state. So since we're part of 4-H, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the extension system, but so in every state there's a land-grant university. So for North Carolina, it's North Carolina State and NC A&T. So from there, every county has basically one of these county extension offices so they have an agriculture kind of services, and they also have food services, but they also have the 4-H youth development piece. So what we've used on the national team is basically use that network of, in every county, since there's one of those extension offices, there's also usually a 4-H agent or some type of 4-H programs going on there anyway. And we've kind of reached out directly to those agents, sharing what we're doing with the national team, and then inviting their youth to either join our team, start their own club, or for us to come in and present on how they could get started with GIS. Does that hopefully answer your question? Oh, perfect. Any other questions? Yes, Dr. Ray? So the question he asked was if some of the youth could share some of their projects. So Srajan, if you'd like, I'll go ahead and give you the microphone.
Thank you. So currently, I'm planning on doing a banking GIS project where I want to go into the insights of Charlotte. As many of you may know, Charlotte is the #2 largest banking sector in America. And because of that, many people have the impression that a lot of these people are using banks no matter what because there's so many. But that's simply not the case. I know after doing a lot of thorough research online, I found that around 25% of people in Charlotte are still underbanked, meaning they typically rely on alternate financial services like payday loans and some other faulty predatory services. And that's not really fair to them simply because where they're located. So what I'm trying to do is obviously look at lots of census tracts, look at socioeconomic factors, and I want to see how these different factors or cultural lifestyles kind of play into it and how they are not given the same opportunities as everyone else simply because where they're located. I know to do this, I'm definitely going to do a lot of what Rishabh is actually doing for his project in terms of looking at income data, looking at racial disparities, age, and just kind of mapping different factors in all of these counties, and also starting in Charlotte because that's where I want to put my main emphasis. Hopefully I can go to Wake County second and then do the rest of North Carolina, potentially even more states in the future. And Tanush?
Hi, my name is Tanush. My project is about mapping the pollution around rivers and river basins. So I wanted to start off by mapping a lot of the pollution that goes around the Catawba River Basin. And basically this helps like identify the big pollution factors and helps local governments like identify what they want to fix and what directly to impact. And so I wanted to start off with the Catawba River down in Charlotte and expand to maybe the South Carolina region of the whole Catawba River, and then go into like other big rivers across the United States, such as like lakes as well, like Lake Michigan and other river basins across the U.S.
Thank you all. Does anyone have any more questions? Sure.
How did y'all find out about the 4-H program and what attracted you to it in the first place to get you involved?
Sure. So the national So the question was how we found the 4-H program and how we got attracted to it. And I guess us three found Brandon. And Brandon had been doing this for a while, but a little bit is 4-H in general is we're from Charlotte, and 4-H has been a lot about agriculture. And in Charlotte, there's not much farms or agricultural related fields, so we've had to sort of transform it, and we've always been looking for innovative and modern ideas, I guess, in addition to agriculture, just to add on. And so that's where we found the concept of GIS when we met Brandon at like a conference. And Brandon can talk a little bit about how the team was established. Yeah, real quickly.
So I can actually talk a bit about how I got into 4-H and really getting involved into this. So my dad basically was talking to one of the 4-H specialists, and then all of a sudden I found myself basically getting dragged to a few 4-H meetings. Ended up falling in love with it. You know, there was all these different kind of community councils that we had in Wake County, so I kind of started doing like different events. And then from there, I went ahead and was kind of scrolling through Wake County 4-H's very elegant website and found this club called Community Mapping. And so from there, I pretty much emailed Dr. A, who was the advisor, and I asked them, hey, can I join a meeting? They went ahead and presented to me, you know, some of the story maps they'd been working on. So I was completely unfamiliar with GIS going into that meeting. So I was kind of just immediately blown away by the fact that one, it was, you know, these projects were being built by students, but then two, the fact that it was not really, you know, it felt like almost like university level research being done by a high schooler. And the ability to do that just was immediately was a huge draw to me. As for the national team, we've really 4-H has kind of expanded in recent decades, I'd say, to go ahead and include stuff that's not just agriculture, but really move forward with STEM. So with 4-H and with really Rishabh and how I met them, I pretty much was able to propose it as this is something that is a tool that you can use in almost every subject or really area of expertise that you're going to probably go into. So that's a bit about how I got them hooked, and a lot of candy. But the third part I'd say is that 4-H or the national team pretty much has done a pretty good job over its 20-year track record of really just equipping students with whatever the fields they've been interested in and going ahead and pulling in mentors. And as Vrishab actually mentioned, job shadowing and internships that people have gotten through the team or after the team and going to universities that they care about. Does anyone have any more questions?
Well, I have a question for you guys. Either of you can answer this. What is the most impactful thing that that national team has done for you?
I guess I can answer it. I know I've always been interested in learning new things. I know from 4-H alone, we talk about so many different fields. We listen to so many guest speakers. And as Richard said earlier, we actually figured out about GIS from Brandon. And ever since seeing how impactful it can be and how important it can be for your future, I wanted to learn as much as I can. And that's what I'm trying to do here and learning with all you guys. But I would say the most impactful thing that's happened with me because of the national team is honestly just improving my research skills. I would never think I'd been able to do mapping on important topics like banking. That's something that I would never see myself doing in a million years. And yet here I am actively doing it along with wonderful colleagues, obviously, and being able to talk about my research with a lot of you guys. It's truly a blessing to be able to do this and just learn as much as I can. And Tanush, do you want to talk about the most impactful thing for you?
So I didn't know what GIS was at all before coming into this club, and I've always wanted to go into a field of computer science. So when I learned about the GIS club, I immediately was intrigued by the different technologies and the mapping tools that you can use. I didn't really fit well with like the actual mapping, but Experience Builder was something that I really enjoyed using as soon as I learned what it was. So I've been like slowly trying to build my skills on that, and also a little bit of Instant App. But the impact that it has had on me is that I've also been inspired to create my own kind of like GIS club in my local South Charlotte area. So I've been having like 20 plus youth in my South Charlotte area who are also interested in learning GIS the same way that I am. And I'm thankful for the National Geospatial team for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any last questions? Sure.
Seeing you guys in talks, listening, what's been your favorite talk that you've gone to, or the most surprising thing that you've learned that case?
Sure. So the question was, what was one of like your favorite talk or thing that you learned during this conference? Well, I'll begin. So recently, I've been a little into AI, and I noticed that there's a few workshops on AI. So I've been able to attend like 2 of them. There was, I think, 3 of them. But I think by attending these workshops, like just generally even, I really enjoyed the AI workshops. But generally attending these workshops, I think I've learned something that like GIS has unlimited possibilities. Whether I'm going to econ or environmental science, I can do anything with GIS. And that's something that I knew a little bit about, but this just sort of strengthened it and anchored it into my brain. And that's what I'm kind of thankful for this conference for, because even though I'm going to econ, right, I was always uncertain how I would use GIS. But now, after this conference, I've sort of been able to understand that GIS is just beyond just maps, and there's more to it than, yeah. So you guys want to talk about one quick thing? Yeah.
So I think the most impactful piece probably from this conference so far actually was, I remember I talked with you actually during the poster social, just really making connections with a lot of different industry professionals. I got to learn about, for example, there was one person that was here in the exhibit hall. I remember he was working on tax, or he had, his company basically specializes in figuring out how much your house is worth and how much your taxes should be, which is something he apparently doesn't tell his friends about. But that's just showing like, you know, all these different kind of like hidden things that you take for granted, or like you don't, or, you know, might not necessarily think about in your daily life. So talking to people like him and really just kind of getting to see like all the different companies that are here and what solutions and what their niches are and how they help, like, you know, across the public sector, private sector, has really been just, it's almost like having tons of encyclopedias around you, and I've just been kind of picking everyone's brains. So I think that's probably the most impactful thing for me so far from the conference. Srajan, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I know you guys have heard a lot of answers. For me, I would say the most important thing I've learned from this conference, obviously, other than talking with all of you guys and seeing your wonderful workshops, is honestly seeing how GIS can be applied in so many different fields. I saw it used in consulting for engineering companies. I saw it being used in disaster management in international countries. And being able to see how people are able to use GIS in such a diverse way is something that I would never have expected. At the beginning, I learned of it strictly as a mapping tool that people can use for research. But over my time and tenure with the team, I've learned how many different fields it can be used in, and it's almost in every single department, even in the government. So I think that's the most important thing I learned from this conference.
One thing I've learned is a lot about the disaster impact that GIS directly has on like disaster situations. Like after Hurricane Helene, I learned a lot about like the different things that GIS has been like immediately able to do to like prevent a lot of emergency situations from getting even worse than they already were before.
Thank you guys. Any last questions? I think we're slightly running on time, so I just want to say before we end off this, feel free to scan this QR code. This talks a little bit about our work. The link tree takes you to multiple of our research projects and additional things. Additionally, our portfolio contains a little bit about us, and then we would really appreciate if you guys could fill this form out, whether it's just giving us feedback or whether it's just giving us new opportunities. We would truly appreciate it, and it means the world to us that you took that time to do it with us. But I just want to emphasize that if you guys are aware of any like partnerships or potential sponsorships we could use to essentially empower the future generation of leaders just like us and make meaningful impact in our communities, please come up and talk to us. We'll be right over in here. With that, I just want to say thank you all for your time. Brandon, you have something to add? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. And we truly enjoyed hosting you today. Feel free to stop by and talk to us. We have some stickers and candy. I know it's kind of childish, but it's kind of fun. So feel free to stop by. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good day. Yeah. Thank you.